The law office of Harrison and Associates screamed old money, from its mahogany-paneled walls to the pretentious oil paintings of former partners. I sat in the leather chair outside the conference room, watching my siblings arrive one by one, each pointedly ignoring my presence. Michael came first in his custom Italian suit, already wearing the smug expression he'd perfected over 40 years as Dad's golden child. Then came Elizabeth, dripping in designer labels, her diamond rings catching the light as she texted furiously on her phone. Finally, Thomas slouched in, trying to look like he hadn't just rolled out of bed despite his rumpled appearance. "Miss Carter." The receptionist's voice was apologetic. "Mr. Harrison says the reading is for heirs only." I could feel my siblings' satisfied smirks without even looking at them. This was exactly what they'd expected, what they'd probably arranged. "Funny thing about that," I said, rising smoothly and gathering my briefcase. "I have an appointment with Mr. Harrison." "Sarah," Michael's condescending voice cut in, "don't make this more embarrassing than it needs to be. We all know Dad cut you out years ago." Ah yes, the famous cutting out. All because I'd refused to join the family real estate business, choosing instead to start my own company. Dad had been furious, declaring I was no longer his daughter. Little did he know what I'd been building while they weren't watching. "Actually," I replied, checking my watch, "I'm right on time for my 10 a.m. The conference room door opened and James Harrison himself stepped out. His eyes widened slightly when he saw me, but he maintained his professional demeanor. "Miss Carter, thank you for coming. Please all of you come in." Michael's face darkened. "Jim, she's not supposed to be here." Dad was very clear about Dash. "About his will, yes," Harrison interrupted smoothly. "But Miss Carter has some relevant information we need to discuss first." I followed them into the conference room, taking a seat directly opposite my siblings. The leather chair creaked as I set my briefcase on the polished table. "Before we begin the reading," Harrison said, "Miss Carter has requested a few minutes to present some documents." "This is ridiculous," Elizabeth snapped, finally looking up from her phone. "We all know Sarah was disinherited. She's just trying to cause trouble like always." I smiled, pulling out a stack of folders. "Actually, Liz, I'm here to save everyone some time. You see, before we get into what Dad left in his will, we should probably discuss what he actually owned when he died." Thomas frowned, his perpetual hangover apparently making it hard to follow. "What are you talking about? Dad owned everything, the apartment buildings, the office complexes, the shopping centers." "Did he?" I started laying out documents on the table. "Because these property deeds tell a different story." Michael grabbed the nearest folder, his face going pale as he read. This can't be right." "Oh, but it is," I said, continuing to arrange papers. "You see, while you were all busy running Dad's company into the ground, I was quietly buying up his properties. One by one, through shell companies and investment groups. Did none of you ever wonder why your biggest competitors were suddenly these mysterious corporate entities?" Elizabeth was frantically flipping through documents now, her perfectly manicured nails trembling. "The Riverside Apartments. The Maxwell Office Park. The Highland Shopping Complex. These all belong to Carter Investment Group." I finished for her. "My company. Well, companies technically. I have several." "But that's impossible," Michael sputtered. "Those are billion-dollar properties." "Yes, they are," I agreed. "And they've been mine for years." Dad was so busy being angry at me for not joining the family business he never noticed I was building my own. A much more successful one, as it turns out. Harrison cleared his throat. "This is why I agreed to this meeting. Miss Carter now owns approximately 85% of what you all thought was your inheritance." The silence in the room was deafening. Thomas had finally stopped looking hungover and was now just looking sick. "When," he whispered. "How? Remember when Dad started having cash flow problems 3 years ago? When he had to start selling properties to keep the company afloat?" I leaned back in my chair. "Who did you think was buying them?" "It started with the Riverside Apartments," I continued, enjoying their stunned expressions. "Dad was so proud of never selling to major corporations, always dealing with local investors. He never bothered to check that Highland Investment Partners was actually my company. Then came Maxwell Office Park through Summit Enterprises, also mine. By the time I bought the Highland Shopping Complex, he was practically giving properties away. But the family business," Michael stammered. Is basically just a management company now, I finished. Managing properties that belong to me. Congratulations, you've all been working for me for the past 3 years. Elizabeth's face had gone from shocked to calculating. Typical Liz, always looking for an angle. Daddy's will can challenge these sales, she said. We can prove you took advantage. No, Harrison interrupted, you can't. I reviewed all the transactions personally. They were completely legitimate fair market value sales. Ms. Carter simply had better business acumen than. He paused diplomatically, other parties involved. Did Dad know? Thomas asked quietly. At the end. I felt a flicker of emotion quickly suppressed. Yes. I told him 2 weeks before he died. Would you like to know what he said? They leaned forward despite themselves. He laughed, I said softly. Actually laughed. Said he should have known the daughter who refused to join his company would be the one to beat him at his own game. Michael's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. This is a trick. Some kind of manipulation. Would you like to see the bank transfers? I offered, pulling out more documents. The property assessments? The current rental income statements? I have it all here. While you 3 were playing at being real estate moguls, I was building an actual empire. But you run a tiny investment firm. Elizabeth protested. That little office downtown is the headquarters of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, I corrected. Just because I don't feel the need to show off doesn't mean I'm not successful. Something Dad finally understood right before the end. Harrison cleared his throat again. Perhaps now would be a good time to read the will? I nodded, settling back to watch the show. To my children Michael, Elizabeth, and Thomas, Harrison read, I leave my remaining business interests in properties, which, as Ms. Carter has demonstrated, consists mainly of the management company and a few smaller properties. My siblings sat in stunned silence as Harrison continued. To my daughter Sarah, I could feel their shock at hearing my name. I leave my private art collection and personal properties along with an apology. You proved me wrong, and I've never been happier to be wrong in my life. Elizabeth's phone slipped from her hand, clattering on the table. The art collection? But that's worth more than what's left of the business? I smiled. Yes, I know. Ironic, isn't it? This can't be legal, Michael declared, standing up. I'm calling our lawyers. Feel free, I said, gathering my documents. Though you might want to check the management company's contracts first. All those properties you've been managing? Those contracts are up for renewal next month. The threat hung in the air. Without those management contracts, their company would be worth practically nothing. You wouldn't, Thomas said. We're family. Family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Was it family when you all supported Dad cutting me out? When you mocked my little investment firm? When you spread rumors in the industry about my competence? I stood, straightening my jacket. But you're right. We are family. Which is why I'm offering you all jobs working for me. Real positions, no nepotism. You'll start at entry level like everyone else. Entry level? Elizabeth looked like she might faint. But we have experience. No, I corrected. You have practice at spending Dad's money. Now you can learn how to actually earn it. Harrison was trying to hide a smile behind his hand. He'd watched this family's drama unfold for 30 years. This must be better than television for him. The management contracts, Michael said, his voice hollow. How much? Let's discuss it next week. My office, 9 a.m. Monday. Don't be late. I'm not as forgiving as Dad was about tardiness. As I walked to the door, I paused. Oh, and Elizabeth? That penthouse apartment you live in? The one Dad gave you for your wedding? The rent's going up. Market rates, you understand. Business is business. The last thing I heard as I left was Thomas's weak voice. Does anyone else feel like we've been playing Monopoly while she was playing chess? In the elevator, I finally let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing. Dad's last words to me played in my head. I was wrong, Sarah. So wrong. You didn't reject the family business. You reinvented it. My phone buzzed, a text from Mycio. How'd it go? Just as expected, I replied. Tell HR to prepare 3 entry-level training packages. And contact building management at Elizabeth's penthouse. Time to adjust the rent to market rate. Another buzz. Ruthless. I love it. Lunch to celebrate. Can't, I texted back. Meeting with the art appraiser about Dad's collection. Apparently he had better taste than his children. Stepping out into the sunshine, I took a deep breath. The city skyline spread out before me, half the buildings owned by my companies. Not bad for the daughter they'd written off as a failure. My phone buzzed again, Michael trying to call. I declined it, sending a quick text. All business matters through proper channels. Monday 9 a.m. Don't forget to bring your resume. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's rising so far above them they can't even see you anymore. And sometimes, the greatest legacy isn't what you inherit, but what you build while everyone else is waiting for their inheritance. Dad understood that in the end. Now it was time for my siblings to learn the same lesson, the hard way. As I drove back to my office, my real office, not the small front they all knew about, I couldn't help but smile. Monday morning would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. After all, nothing teaches humility quite like realizing the sister you dismissed as a failure has been your landlord all along. Let the lessons begin.